Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon with Brandon Wound Pickups.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death that you are listening to our show tonight because, holy moly, it's going to be a good one. We have with us 3 guests. This is the first.
3 amigos.
3 amigos have 3 other amigos on the line. And we're going to cover something that has crossed our microphones and airwaves many, many, many times. This subject of the Line 6 HX Stomp. We are going to go in detail with these gentlemen. Gentleman number 1, who are you? Just shout it out. Who cares? Whoever's first.
I'm Ben. I guess I'll go alphabetical order. My name's Ben Adrian. I make Helix stuff, and I'm a former indie rocker from Indianapolis.
Excellent. And how about next?
Eric Klein. I'm a product designer, and I also do the Helix stuff.
Excellent. And third, but not last.
I'm Jeff Schroeder. I play guitar in a band called the Smashing Pumpkins and another band called Night Dreamer. And during the course of the pandemic, a bunch of other crazy things too. So
you've been busy.
And I've been here on this show a couple times. So happy to be back.
Yes.
Glad to have you.
I was feeling left out.
Well, it's been a few days. I wonder when I'll get another call from the guitar.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Well, as I just mentioned, these are the gentlemen behind the HX Stomp. And I don't mean shiny sales guys or something. It's like these are the guys that actually put this together and created it. So
no, we are not sales guys.
No,
decidedly so.
Yeah,
we love our sales guys, but no.
Yeah, so we're literally going to get the HX Stomp from the horse's mouth, and also find out what a worldwide, internationally known rocker likes so much about it as well. That's Tony, in case anybody was wondering.
I did like it.
Like it a lot. So we just got a few things to take care of here. So I've got a few people to thank. Road Mics, thank you so much for supplying this amazing equipment that we are recording the podcast on, the Rodecaster Pro and the Procaster mic.
And
the articulating arms.
Thank you.
Yes, okay, here we go. And it is great also to see Tony and Jared, so thank you guys for being back in the studio. This is the first time we've been all 3 in this studio for months. And we said, this is one that we all need to be here for, because there's no way I'm going to manage 6 people on an internet call.
Yeah, probably smart.
Yeah. So I also needed to bring up, so the cat's out of the bag. If you've been listening to the show and watching us on Instagram for a little while, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in as we move along, but I wanted to share this. This is a note from one of our grand poobahs, our poobah supporters on Patreon. This is from Steve Keys. Happy Thursday to you, gentlemen. I wanted to drop you a line and thank you truly for this fantastic Fuzzalicious Fez pedal. I received it yesterday after having one of those days at work, and I mentioned this in my latest posts. But that gift really made my day. I plugged that pedal in, and at once I started playing my Les Paul with my P90s. The sound I got right away gave me goosebumps. What an awesome, versatile pedal, of which I can't wait to really turn up and go. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication to this already super, I'm running out of adjectives, he says, guitar community, and for taking such great care of your patrons. I'm honored to be a part of this community. Yeah. Take care and have a great rest of your week. So that was,
so Todd, what is this pedal
of
which he speaks?
Hang on, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I just wanted to share that nice note. We get nice notes occasionally. We get some not nice notes occasionally.
1 or 2.
Yeah. So anyways, we are going to dive into what is going on in our music world this week. Tony's going to lead us off. Then we're going to go in the order we introduced: Ben, then Eric and Jeff, and then we'll circle back with Jared and I.
All right. Well, that's good.
Tony?
Well, you know me. I love a good bargain. And I like musicians' friends' stupid deal of the days.
You
Yes.
do, man.
I've got some really cool stuff for not a whole lot of money. Well, this past week they had a Wampler Reflection reverb pedal on. Mm-hmm. Oh man! And they're normally about $199. They had it, the crazy deal of the day for $90.
About isn't around. That's not an approximate number.
It's
That's a very
$199.99.
specific number.
About $200.
Okay.
Just shy of it by a penny. And they had them as the crazy deal of the day for $99. But it gets better because I had some, what do they call it? Rewards credit kind of thing. So I ended up getting a really cool pedal for a hair over $50.
That's fantastic.
You're kidding me.
And it is honestly one of the nicest digital reverb pedals that I've messed with. I might go so far as to say I like it better than the Dr. Z tube reverb head that I just bought. Only because, and let me just explain.
That is cool, though.
It's cool. It looks cool.
No, I mean the Z head.
Yeah, the Z head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But what's cool about the Wampler pedal is it's got a little switchy on it that allows you to go from spring to plate.
That's nice.
Spring would be, what you typically would have in an onboard amp reverb.
I can see Eric and Ben
Fender.
chewing their face off, going, "Oh yeah, well guess what we got?
Guess what we got?" And then the plate side of it is more like a hall reverb. It's what you would have a studio reverb.
Right.
And it's just got some really cool features, super easy to use, and it sounds good. And for under 50 or around $50, I'm super
under 50 for you,
yeah. But for even at $100, I think it's a good deal.
or two,
or at two,
according to what.
No wonder those places
You
are going bankrupt.
Really not representing the cost of this pedal very well, my friend.
Well, okay. So there you have it. That was my thing. I had some fun playing with this. I'm going to give it to Todd.
Hey, all right.
And he's going to do one of his 1 minute wonder thingies.
Yeah, a little demo for the internets.
So that was my week.
Cool, excellent. Ben, how about yourself?
Well, I feel like I'm kind of been up to my neck in gear as it's the day job, but I actually did get something crazy this week, semi-gear related. I got a pair of extremely budget wireless earbuds.
Ooh.
And, I thought I'll get something for $25 off the big A, and we'll see how it goes. And if one falls out of my ear while I'm riding my bike, I won't care. And I've been really surprised by how good they are. There's a company called Tozo. I mean, it's totally like, Chinese made, only sell on Amazon. Mm-hmm. Kind of, I just thought they were going to be some BS thing, but they're surprisingly okay. I'll give it a lukewarm positive.
Surprisingly okay. Wow, that's
with a lukewarm positive. I mean,
that's going out on a limb.
I feel like when my band's been on tour, it's like if a band is surprisingly okay, that was a good night. Another
For $25, I'd take surprisingly okay all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, does that include the earwigs that they put inside there?
Ew.
Yes, I have. It's going to be with like the scene from Wrath of Khan soon, where.
Wow. How about let's hear from Eric?
I haven't bought gear in years.
You
I
don't
think.
have to buy gear. It can be anything.
Yeah, this is anything.
So I've been neck deep in black metal and sledge gaze for the last couple of years.
Oh my god!
And like in the '90s, I was so big into shoegaze, and I just totally missed it. Yeah, and a buddy sent me a link to he does like a shoegaze podcast, and like, all right, so I was listening to it, and I discovered all this great shoegaze stuff that I just wasn't on my radar for the better part of a decade. So now I'm just like absorbing as much as I possibly can. And I didn't even know that there's this big shoegaze,
undercurrent.
Yeah, it's massive now. It's like a big thing now. I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe my band will do something. We'll know. So yeah, it's cool.
Some of my shoegaze friends got flown to Peru to play like festivals there a few years back. It's like Peru shoegaze, crazy.
Peru gaze.
The country, not the city.
I don't know.
Bonasharu.
Yeah, it's what's interesting about that is that had its, I guess its heyday you could call, but. I mean, there were a lot of people that were extremely dedicated to that. Jeff was in that pretty heavy But
What?
but then then things move on. But that doesn't mean all of that stops. So you can imagine like this just rumbling undercurrent is like it's gonna sprout up again and it's gonna do it big.
Yeah. So all week it's been Slow Crush, Levada, and I don't know where Nowhere was, but I guess they have like 8 albums, and like, oh, I need to catch up now. So
Nowhere was always there.
Yes.
I think that's a name that they must have got their name from. I think it's a Ride album.
Yeah.
Like first Ride album, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's always a good sign when they have a name that's taken from like a classic track.
Yeah.
Or album.
Exactly.
I actually, in '97, my shoegazy band played a festival in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
Enough.
What was it called?
The festival was
your band.
It's called the Sunflower Conspiracy. And we played with a band called Schematic, and we played with a band called Mahogany out there, and there was
Do you remember
few more.
What club it was?
Andromeda was a band, a local Columbus band I played with a couple times.
Wow.
Do you remember?
It was at like some warehouse space.
I wonder if
So not an official venue.
No, definitely not.
Okay. That sounds like a heck of a good time though.
It was great. I have a history with Columbus. It's pretty fun.
Nice. Well, next time you're out in Columbus, any of you, please hang out. Actually, we're about to go to Jeff, but I wanted to mention on our last podcast that we just it was the one with Corey Niger. We posted them. we were having a laugh with Jared because last time Jeff was here, we went out to dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, I
Jared
thought it was
ordered
really
a $100
cool 'cause-
Wagyu steak.
Yeah.
And I was like afraid that he didn't realize it was $100, and he's like, so we made a good joke of
And
it.
secondly, that it was the size of 2 plates.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, man, it doesn't matter who I'm with. I still get the best steak on the menu. I still love a good steak.
Yeah. Excellent.
I don't know.
Well, Jeff, how about you? What's going on in your music world?
Well, in the middle of just kind of starting in earnest another Smashing Pumpkins record where like tracking guitar stuff for real. And so that's that's a few days a week, like all day, every day. Not all day, every day, but like 2 days, 3 days a week, trying to, because we were obviously working remotely. And so like we have basically the drums are done for real. And so then it's like Billy has, will do his thing for a couple days and then he sends it out.
How are you guys sharing file? I mean, I can imagine you probably have a better way of sharing it than maybe a lot of people who are just, doing little bands, but we just, basically you have to just stem stuff out and then, I go and then just, we open up whatever Pro Tools session and just add our parts and then send that back. So it's just like what everybody does. Yeah. There's no like, as my friend calls it, 8-digit phone number for, for the big, where like we have access. There's this thing that pros get to use. No, we're just, a black Suburban doesn't show up in front of your house with a suitcase.
Yeah. No, they drive a mobile recording truck back and forth between so that, and then actually, and then I'm just been, is the fun thing about being back in LA is that I get, even though I'm not going out and hanging out with people really, but it's just for something to do with being back is I get to do all these like fun, like kind of songwriting recording sessions. So worked on 2 songs this week with someone from the band Diamonds, which is like a kind of a hard rock heavy metal band from Toronto. So that's really fun for me to kind of delve into that. So,
nice.
Get to do a lot of different things. And then also, speaking of shoegaze, my old shoegaze band, the Lassie Foundation, we just started re-releasing our catalog on streaming services because being as it was from the 90s, we released all our records on a smattering of like now defunct indie labels that don't exist. And so we had to get, weird people had been putting our stuff up. So we had to like been hard time like getting stuff taken down. And then we took all the masters and like started remastering everything. And so we're like, basically we just put up our first EP like about a week and a half ago, and now we're starting to get our first album up. So that was really hard because some crazy label, that doesn't exist anymore, sold all our catalog to some other company who claimed they had the rights, but then it's just crazy stuff, So
is there ever not some story behind some great record like that?
And it's like, who cares for these records that made no money? You know what I mean? And are going to make no money. So we're just like, we just want to have it for like the people that are into it so they can stream it and, we can be with the times. But that's been really fun. So, and I think, like you guys said, I think that there's been it seems like it gets, like, time has been good in that it's getting bigger and bigger without having to do anything. So we're happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping a lot of music makes its way back because I think, unfortunately, a lot out there is not so great and needs some better stuff. So let's see, Jared, how about yourself?
Oh, sure. So I want to continue on from last week's guitar of the week, guitar whatever of the week, and I was at the guitar show.
What the hell are you talking about?
Guitar thing of the week.
Guitar thing of the week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your music world.
Yeah, music world. Sorry about that. I'm just coming off of being sick from the second shot.
Oh, yeah.
So that really sucks. So I'm sorry if I'm
gotta watch that tequila, man.
Yeah, right. Sorry if I'm not all here tonight, but anyway, yeah, I got a couple of these really nice guitar straps from this guitar show I was at, and just wanted to mention this lady's name. Her business is Tremolo Leather Company, and it's Gear for Your Gear. It's really, really nice handmade guitar straps. And they're really beautiful.
Yeah, they're really nice material.
Yeah, it's got, how instead of the vinyl
material on
instead of vinyl, instead of vinyl, it's got this nice seatbelt material in the back of it.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna, the edges
You're not
won't
gonna go
cut
through
you.
any car windows with that thing on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's not your strap isn't going to stick to your velvet shirt.
Or your burgundy velvet sport coat, which is coming your way.
Yeah.
The design, she has dress designs, and she said she used all sorts of different designs. It's not the same old strap designs you see. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's cool.
Think that she did a great, and she's her family's from Catawba, which is where I'm from. So so we had a lot in common to talk
it is
about.
A small world. Isn't
It is a small world.
Yeah.
So that was really I think one of the first guitar shows, the Indiana Guitar Show, back on the books.
Yeah, it was pretty successful for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about other guys. I think I heard some guys did super well and some guys just didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it was brave going out there at this point of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I felt good about it. I haven't had any adverse effects from it. So
No. Well, and you got your second shot now. So
yay.
all right, on. For me.
How about you, Todd?
Thank you, Tony. I had quite a week because I spent a lot of time with our local postman.
Oh.
And who saw me coming in with
Are you training for a new job?
quite a lot of boxes.
Little
and
white
that,
boxes.
I think scared him a little bit. But he's actually a really good musician.
Huh.
I catch him out. Like sometimes I'll park and he's out on the dock playing. He's playing like Spanish classical stuff.
Oh, cool.
I think he's like a bongo or congo player guy. I can't remember which one it is, but anyways, that has nothing to do with the packages. The email that I shared from Steve Keys. The cat is out of the bag. We did, I made the announcement on Instagram that we had something brewing for quite a long time, and wanted to share it with our what we call Grand Poobah level supporters. These people who have just are supporting us at a fantastic level, and we are so grateful to them. And we sent them out something called the Fuzz. That is a hand-flocked pedal based on a modified tone bender circuit.
So when you say hand flocked, what exactly do you mean, Todd?
That literally means like I hand flocking. It's like it's like kind of like suede-y, you know. It's hard. I'm trying to think of what you can still get these days that are flocked. Flocking was kind of like a weird thing in the 70s and late 60s. So it just feels like there's fabric, like velvet. It's almost a little bit more like velvet.
Yeah. Feels like a fez,
velvety and suede. And the
velvet heavy show today.
Yes, it is. And so the name is based off of the fez hat that we send our Grand Poobah level supporters on Patreon. And so it's been a real effort of excitement and love and a lot of work I have.
Well, even without the hand flocking, this is a damn fine sounding pedal.
It really is. It's an extremely versatile pedal too. You wouldn't think of it. It's like a 2-knob pedal that has more range than a lot of pedals that I know that have many more knobs.
Now, is this something that you guys are making yourself too?
Yes. The circuit, we worked with FX Layouts early on and got a circuit together. And then, I hand drilled, painted, flocked, put everything, all the boards, the wiring, everything together. So it's really exciting because I've been on this side of the table doing all this stuff, like interviewing and all the time going, geez, I wish I would want to make a pedal. And one went out. I want to make a pedal too. I'm really, really proud of, and Tony and Jared have been involved in it. And it's just a great way to reward everybody. So beyond the Patreon Grand Poobahs, we're probably working out another very small run that we're going to extend to some of the executive producers, as many as we have left. And then who knows, maybe we'll do a slightly different kind of run after that. We'll see. More to come on that. Anyways, all that being said, Tony and Jared, what is one of our favorite things on the show? Besides me.
Besides you? Would that be something that involves naming of 4 must-have pedals?
Jared, what's your thing?
My thing?
Yeah. How about
some of this?
There we go.
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
Ben, Adrian, line 6.
Yes.
Give us your 4 on the floor. One at a time. Tell us all the dirty details.
Okay, if I get too far, you can pull me back. This is this mostly friends on the floor. I wanted to make this special. Nice. So these are almost all pedals from people that are like pals of mine now. The first one is the Earthquaker.
I'm already jealous.
The Earthquaker Devices Disaster Transport. I used to always need a DM2 delay, and mine started getting weird. So I'm like, well, what can I get that I can put on the floor, take to venues, and beat up, and it sounds pretty good. And that was the Earthquaker Disaster Transport. And I actually bought it from them directly at a pedal show many years ago. And I asked them, are you in those pedal companies from Portland? They're like, no, we're from Kent, Ohio. I'm like, oh, my kind of noise rock band played Kent, Ohio in like 1996 at a house. And like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's like this crazy house. There's a Jolly Green Giant out front. And the guy, Jamie, who owns Earthquaker, is like, that was my house. And I played with his band at a basement show in his house. So I was like, holy cow. So we've been friends, not like great buds, but we've been acquaintances ever since. Say hi to each other at all the trade shows. And
nice.
And I like being able to use his stuff.
There was a ride called Disaster Transport at Cedar Point.
Yeah,
that's probably what it's for.
I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
At 100%.
It's not there anymore, but.
Oh no! But when you grow up going to Midwestern amusement parks, you have the Beast. You're gonna have the Disaster Transport.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Let's see. The second is the Euthymia Crucible Fuzz. Made by a guy named Eric in Alameda, California. A company called Euthymia, but it starts with an E, E-U-Y-T-A, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's a fuzz face. It's based on the BC 108, like 70s fuzz faces that are kind of higher gain. And I'm a pedal nerd. I built my own pedals for a while, and I started messing with the fuzz face circuit. And it's 2 transistors, 2 knobs, and like 6 capacitors and resistors. There's nothing there, which means every change you make is huge. And you can just tweak with it for hours on end. And I got sick of just messing around with my own circuits, swapping out resistors and transistors and stuff. So I just like, hey, I know my friend makes a good one. I'm just going to buy it, and I won't want to change it because that's his version and I don't want to mess with his stuff. So it's been one of my favorite fuzz pedals, and mainly because I don't want to go in there and screw with it. So that's the Silicon Euthymia Crucible Fuzz.
Well, that sounds pretty cool.
It's very cool. I don't know if he makes them anymore, but he also makes the ICBM pedal, which made it into one of the most recent Helix updates, which is an op-amp Big Muff.
Nice.
That he's started doing in the early 2000s.
Excellent.
Third one is even more cheating. I used to have a small pedal company just called Ben Adrian Audio, and I made a pedal called the KWB for my friends in a band called Kowloon Walled City. And the reason, so my buddy Scott had this Distortion Plus. He's like, this Distortion Plus sounds amazing, better than the other ones. I have no idea what's up. And I have a small pile of them. So he brought them over to my house and we checked out. And sure enough, one of the diodes was just totally broken in his Distortion Plus that he loved. So it was only clipping half the waveform. Totally asymmetrical, just gnarly, super loud distortion. So I'm like, okay, I'll build you a pedal that replicates the brokenness. So I built a pedal called the KWB. His band started using it. They kind of got underground famous. And so a bunch of people wanted them right as I started working at Line 6 and couldn't make them anymore.
Of course.
So I always told my friend Scott, he's a recording engineer, and they also used to work for Adobe, and he's a pretty big nerd. I'm like, you can figure out this circuit stuff. It's really not that hard, especially for distortion pedals. Come on. And so he started building his version of my pedal. That was a version of his pedal. So he sent me one, and I've been using it a lot now. It's just kind of like this dirty, nasty booster based on an MXR Distortion Plus based on my pedal. And it's called the KWB Plus, and it's made by my friend Scott Evans, and it's called Anti-Sleep Audio. So that's three.
Got a cool name.
Yeah, that's what his studio is called. Recording studio is called as well in Oakland,
Apt.
California.
Very apt.
And so that's 3 out of 4. 4, I'm breaking from it. 4 was the first multi-effects processor I got that was my entire rig when I was in a band in the 90s, where I wanted basically just to rip off Slow Dive and the Cocteau Twins. And it's the Digitech Valve Effects chrome front panel. And I had that going into a power amp, going into 212 cabinets. And that was my entire rig. But the Digitech Valve Effects, I guess you don't really put it on the floor, but I don't care, that made me realize, hey, rack gear can be okay. Multi-effects can be okay. This is a lot of fun. Maybe I should do this more. And then now I am. That's my 4.
Rad.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's very good 4.
I appreciate you sharing those very good 4, and I guarantee there's quite a few people, including the people on this side of the fence, that are like, well, we haven't heard of most of that. So that's great.
Yes. I can send you pictures if you like.
I love that. That'd be fantastic.
Awesome.
Eric, let's hear from you.
Mine are totally different. It
would be really weird if they were the same.
Well, yeah. Well, I do have an Earthquaker in there, so we have that in common. So first one is probably the ZVEX Fuzz Factory. I was working at Rainbow Guitars in Tucson. I would take pedals home at night, just like mess around with them. I'm like, all right, this is cool. And then I got the Fuzz Factory at home, and I started playing when it started self-oscillating, where you could actually control the pitch with the knob. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And it was sort of the first aha moment where I realized, when people talk about how pedals have personality, they're not necessarily talking about a vibe or a character. They're actually talking about like the personality of like an evil X or,
right.
or somebody who's passive aggressive. Like it was angry and unpredictable. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting and cool. And it was the first time a pedal made me think, okay, this is, I'm not going to find this in a plug-in. I really need to, embrace, pedals as well. And so that really got me into pedals.
And I think ZVEX they were probably one of the first companies that did all the hand-painted enclosures and things like that. So, they were really cool. Ahead of the game.
Yeah, I love it. And then for number 2, I picked the Afterneath, the Earthquaker. Mm-hmm. And that was in, I know you said we couldn't pick our own pedals, wholly appropriate, but the Afterneath reminded me of our own DL4 in that you can actually play with the knobs and make entire ambient pieces with it. Mm-hmm. Where, all right, I'm just gonna make these chords into a looper, and I'm gonna start playing with the Afterneath knobs and just build these swells and change the pitch. And it
you can really go crazy on that.
Yeah, it's one of the few pedals that would generate songs. Mm-hmm. That would like inspire you to write a new song and that sort of thing. The last 2 are totally cheating, so I apologize in advance. Empress Zoya.
Oh, okay.
It's just insane, and the fact that it exists at all is amazing to me. I saw it when did was it 2 NAMMs ago that they announced it?
Yep.
And it's so much fun, and they keep coming out with new toys for it, and it's really almost like a Helix with colored buttons on it in a way, because there's so many things you can do, and you can build things from scratch, and there's this modular synth and modular effects and it's also extremely forgiving, which is bizarre because I keep trying to break it and make sounds that shouldn't sound cool, and they still do.
Yes. That's this is where you and I stand on different sides of the street, my friend. We were talking with them at the show, and they sent us one while it was still in beta. And
we did a lot of head scratching.
I sort of like bowed my head, raised my hands back up, and I said, "You may have this back. Yeah. Thank you so much. It was thoughtful and kind. I have no clue what to do with it."
Yeah, no, it's a beast. Well, my 4th pedal is along the same lines, and that's the Roger Lynn Adrenaline 2. That was another one that just generated just tons of tracks and when I used to crank out music library music when I was in Arizona, and then early when I moved to LA. And so it was from conception to final mix, get home from work, start at 6:00, and by midnight I have to upload a brand new track, fully mixed, fully written, produced, everything. And so the Adrenaline helped a lot there.
Wow. That's cool.
Just from generating something and like, all right, I'm going to that's kind of cool. Load that in, run it through some plugins. All right, now I'm going to chop up my guitar, and I get calls from people like, what synth is that? It's like, it's an Adrenaline 2. It's guitar. Don't worry. Yeah.
Well, that's actually, I'm sure Jeff's going to grace us with some very things along those lines, I would imagine. Jeff, how about yourself?
No, this is not a plug for, my friends over at Line 6, but, because I'm so immersed in that Helix world that I actually don't buy as many pedals as I used to anymore. And the pedals that I tend to buy are more distortion, overdrive, types of things, because any type of crazy modulation effects and stuff, I just tend to use Helix for. But that being said, I built a little board here to play with, because I have all these pedals, and I'm like, I'd like to actually just play through those. So my favorites right now are it's kind of a pair, because they kind of go well together. So it's the Catlin Bread Dirty Little Secret, which is the red edition, which is a slightly hotter kind of Marshall type of Marshall in a box, and it's really quite good. So I use that, and I pair that with the now not made anymore, apparently, Fender Yngwie Malmsteen Overdrive. Yeah, so that is like a really good.
Does it come with a dozen donuts?
No, I don't need that. I live. Unfortunately, I live like I can walk from this room and be at a Winchell's Donuts in less than 30 seconds. From it's like it's not fair. So I have my own issues with that.
No, I'm referring to the Pantera documentary where they were opening for Yngwie, and one of the tricks that they played, they had they delivered a bunch of donuts to Yngwie's hotel room because at the time I think he might have been putting on a few pounds.
I believe it. Yeah, but that the overdrive is really quite good, and that pairing with a Marshall type of thing with that thing, it really gets you into that world, and it's really quite good. And then I also have been really into the Walrus Audio slow reverb. And I'm sure that's kind of a big one. I feel like a lot of people have that, and it's just one of those ones that does all these really beautiful kind of modulated type of reverbs. And so definitely for the shoegaze thing, it's really great. I really love that. I use that. Been having some fun with that, and I'm trying to think because I have. Oh, and for my fourth, because to be part of the in crowd, I have been using actually for recording a lot an Earthquaker pedal as well, and it's the Data Corruptor, which is
it's killer.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's pretty cool because I end up usually going DI with it. I don't even end up using the amp, and will just record DI and then obviously put a bunch of plug-in, like a lot of Helix stuff, or through the native plug-in or whatnot, and you can really get some pretty awesome type of things with that. And it's really, I love pedals like that where you can you have to react to what it's giving you. So it's really like that, a really nice symbiotic relationship between like it, you play and then it gives you something back. And so in real time, you can kind of get some fun stuff going. So I really been very impressed with them. I was recently just introduced to it. My friend Josiah, who runs the Cave Studio in Silver Lake, had it. And he was like, dude, you got to check this out. And I fell in love with it.
That's cool. Well, and one of the things that people may not know. Well, you've been on plenty of times, so maybe everybody, this is common knowledge. But you are quite a versatile player, and not necessarily in the sense of like, oh, I can play jazz, or I can. It's like your actual like soundscape that you play in, I think, is very versatile, regardless of the style of music.
Yeah. I tend to like just to do my normal thing. I need to have like this. I need to have like a pretty strong set of tools to do it. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate all. I wasn't expecting any 4 on the floor. We got 12 on the floor. 12 on the floor. Holy mackerel.
Driving a big old Mack truck.
Yeah, I'm glad I stopped doing the blog post for that, because that would have taken me a week and a half to do.
We even got a little rat gear in there.
Yeah.
Which is that was a big of that early shoegaze sound. I think that's a big part of it.
Well, what was the Zoom 9001, the little half rack that everybody used, like half string and Allison's Halo, and I think Nine Inch Nails used it too.
Yeah. There wasn't that much around, you know what I mean, at the time, Yeah,
if you wanted to get like that super like, oh, I'm swimming in the multiverse kind of thing, you had to like have an Alesis unit on top of your combo amp, or like the Yamaha FX 500. We always had a joke like, oh, you're swimming in Lake Alesis now.
I had a Quadverb GT, yeah.
Oh yeah, I had a Quadverb as well, and the Rocktron IntelliFX had actually very beautiful, deep, long reverbs as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Everything had very purposeful names.
Rocktron,
IntelliFX.
I know.
Well, speaking of awesomeness and all the wonders that the wonderful sounds that we can get.
Yeah, why are these guys on today?
I don't know. As we mentioned it, two of these three, Eric and Ben, are two of the pillars behind the Line 6 HX Stomp. And, we've had, this has been mentioned so many times. Actually, Jeff was the first person that brought it up on the show. And maybe the second 4 on the floor, I can't remember which one. And he got us really turned on about it. And then his guitar tech, Drew Foppy, was like, HX effects. And he did HX effects and the Stomp. But we're talking about the Stomp. So everybody started, we started to get a lot of talk about it. Now, that in itself in the guitar community is not unusual or special because this is a huge contribution to our music world. But specifically on this show, where we've really focused on boutique builders and people who are sort of like really nuts about pedals, mostly analog, a lot of digital, all that stuff, small luthiers and stuff. This was something that there was an interest in, a great interest in, but not a lot of seemingly not a lot of understanding. So you need to have a show about this. You need to have a show about this. And then we actually did one about playing in your home and not getting kicked out.
Oh, yeah.
During the pandemic is like, hey, how do we keep rocking without, hitting the pavement? And this was one of the things that we offered up as a solution to that. So at this point, I said, well, we just got to reach out to him and see if we can get him on the show. I really didn't know if that was going to be possible. I noticed that Jeff had posted on his Instagram that he had done an article talking about Line 6, and I said, you know what? I'm going to talk to Jeff and see if he can get us hooked up. And lo and behold,
it somehow got through our pearly gates and over the moat. And
totally, I had to really work hard. I had to really put myself on the line to make this happen.
One of the things that I always go on podcasts. I've been on a few, and I try to, if anyone wants to talk about it, I always want to talk. And you mentioned like everyone on the show is into boutique gear. Well, I do the amp and effect modeling, and there's two other people who do amp and effect modeling, and we're all people who like ran boutique pedal companies or built their own gear or did, worked in a shop or did amp repair, or, we all have like two of us who have been, all three of us have been studio techs. Like we have been, really like into gear and hands-on digging into it. So like the people who are making the models aren't like, in lab coats having never heard guitar before. They're like people, they're like, me,
you're
like
not soulless automatons.
No, exactly. So, I mean, we hope that the gear connects with people, even though it is, quote, digital gear, unquote. I mean, it's literally digital gear.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are the quotes for?
No quotes are necessary.
There's like, kind of the like, oh, it's digital gear snobbery that still exists. But, if you don't want to use it, don't use it. But, for the most part, it can do a lot of cool stuff. And the stuff inside is actually made by people who paid attention to all the crazy crap that happened in the analog gear that you loved. And we're finding ways to recreate that crazy crap in this world.
Well, so I have a handful of questions for you that are more about, how you got to this place with this and everything. Again, not necessarily, there are loads and loads of run-throughs and demos, and here's how you do this. And even on your own channel on YouTube, there's tons of information. So after you hear this and you ultimately go get one, which undoubtedly you will, that's where you need to go to dig into like making it work for you. But I think that there's a bigger story behind this and how that can relate to specifically our audience that has asked for this. Just right out of the gate, why the Stomp?
We wanted something that would fit on a pedal board. We wanted something that looked like a pedal because, I mean, it's not, there's not much that differentiates between a digital Stomp box, like a Strymon or an Empress or a Maris and HX Stomp, really, other than the fact that instead of putting 4 algorithms into one thing and mapping those parameters to 5 knobs with no display, we just give people access to those parameters. Mm-hmm. So, and we wanted it affordable enough to where if somebody really wanted to buy a couple of them, they could, Mm-hmm. And the first goal actually was we wanted something to fit in the little tiny pocket on the back of our Helix backpack. So it's like, hey, wonder if we could make something that fits in here as maybe a backup or something like that. But then it just turned out, it's like, no, we just really want something that vibes like a boutique Stomp box for pedal boards, because we had been doing the whole, all in one box for so long. We wanted something, and And all of our all-in-ones were really meant to be the centerpiece of a much larger rig, which is why we have so many effects loops, which is why we have a really robust MIDI controller functionality in there.
Mm-hmm.
And like, well, it's kind of fun to play on the other side of the road as well. So like, well, let's just make a stomp box.
Mm-hmm.
And, and the type of people that are Line 6 aficionados, they want it to be a Helix, and we've had to be pretty protective of the fact that it was a stomp box. Like we knew we'd probably have to add a couple extra blocks, expand it from 6 to 8 later, but we purposely kept it really small and simple and scaled down to start. And we made sure we didn't have the command center MIDI master controller built in at launch. We could have, the code was there. We purposely didn't put it in there because we wanted it to be a pedal. We wanted it to be like our kid. We wanted it to be a kid for a few years,
Mm-hmm. Now, Eric, just for everybody's edification, what is your role in the Stomp?
I've kind of a dumb title. It's Chief Product Design Architect. In other companies, it's Product Manager, I guess. So
I like the first one better.
It sounds cooler on a card.
Go be your buildings.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
So Ben and Igor and I are the ones who aren't afraid to go on social media and talk about stuff. And so people think that we're sort of the brainchilds behind all of this stuff. And I guess that is sort of the case, but we have a pretty big team of people, and we're always debating and arguing and dreaming up cool ideas. But when it came to Stomp, it was the number one goal was size.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Was it now, did the Stomp or the effects come out first? I can't remember.
Effects came out first. They were supposed to come out at the same time, but Stomp got laid up for some reason. I forget at this point. But
and for everybody's further edification, the difference between, just in a nutshell, the difference between the Stomp and the effects. Could you explain that really quick?
Effects is really sort of a modern interpretation of our M-class processors. So it's very fast. It's one stomp per effect by default. So you just tap the stomp and then turn the knobs, and there it is. There's no real menu diving unless you want to. Mm-hmm. Because we needed something, because the M class, the M9, M5, M13 were getting a little long in the tooth. So that's sort of that workflow. And then Stomp is pretty similar. They have the exact same processor, but we added amps and we just made it smaller, and we decided let's make the tiniest Helix we could possibly make.
And cabs.
Yes. And cabs and IR loading.
Yes.
And USB audio. And it does a lot.
It certainly does.
So can you go into a little bit the genesis going from something like a pod, which this is how I evaluated the Stomp, because I 100 years ago I had one of the Pod 2.0s, the little kidney shaped ones, which at its time I thought was a good little practice headphone kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, obviously this is light years ahead, but there are some similarities. So can you kind of go, explain how you went from, that into the FX and or Stomp?
I mean, I joined in 2010. So it was a good 15 years after Line 6 had started. So it was just a few months before the Pod HD 500 came out. Mm-hmm. And the first day I show up, it's really trial by fire at Line 6. It's pretty hardcore the first couple of months. And they're like, here, by the way, here's a link to a bunch of docs of every product we've ever considered making in our company's history, which was really weird coming from my last gig where we didn't find out about the new gear that was coming out until a week before the NAMM show. So like, I shouldn't know this stuff. Why are they letting me see this? And one of the things was this Veta system that was from 2008. And it was going to be this crazy expensive floor processor that was bundled with a tube amp, and you could hit foot switches and it would remotely control the actual tube topology in the amp. And it was going to be something like $2,500 for the system or something ridiculous. And then the economy tanked in 2008. So they decided to shelved that. And then when we revisited it in 2011, that became Helix. And people were really, really scared in the building because when we crunched the numbers, it was going to be $1,500, and it was 3 times more than our previous flagship. And a lot of the dealers were scared, and for a while we had to fight tooth and nail to release Helix at all. They wanted us to scrap it and just go straight to LT. And we're like, no, it has to have swivel strips. It has to do all of these things. And we fought really hard. There's actually a lot of fighting at Line 6. It's all very respectful, but what Ben and I are now in a position where Helix and HX products have been successful enough to where they kind of let us go now. And so if we get a little heated, they're like, okay, you guys have been right in the past. We'll let you do your thing. We call it
spirited debate.
Spirited debate. Yeah. Ben luckily doesn't have to see too much of that. So
Ben, what is your role within the HX Stomp?
So my job title is I'm the sound design manager, which doesn't mean I do movie special effects. It's kind of the best term they could come up with, people who do modeling, but I do more than modeling. We also create our own original effects, and pretty much anything that makes a sound that has to be listened to gets run through our department. So I was never really like a coder. I come from the analog world, but I learned just enough of the proprietary Line 6 software to go in and build the amp and effects models. Because, the people who do the code aren't like the crazy hardcore amp and effects nerds. So you kind of need, there are a lot of people behind the scenes like Igor and another guy named Brandon, just a bunch of people. I don't want to start naming names too much or everyone will forget someone.
Yeah.
But, they do the coding, but, I'm the person who spent hours just reading through schematic books for fun and trying to figure out how guitar products work. So I build, the virtual circuits for everything. And pretty much I'm lucky because anything I do now can get put into pretty much any product that Line 6 makes. So if I make an amp model, it can go into Helix, it can go into HX Stomp. If I make a delay, it'll end up in all the Helixes, Pod Go probably, HX Effects, HX, it's the software tools for modeling are hopefully product agnostic now.
Can you get a PV Bandit in there?
Yeah. I mean, there's been,
thank God.
I love the Bandit 65. I grew up with that amp. I was in every basement electrocuting you. I mean, it was, I have a very soft spot for that, being a punk rocker coming out of the Midwest. It's like you shocked yourself with some PV stuff once or twice.
Easily, yeah.
In an ungrounded basement.
Yeah. The lip on the microphone is always.
I made a lot of pizzas to afford my gear back in the day. And it was one of them.
Thurston Moore always used the PV Roadmaster head. That was
the big one.
Yeah, that could be a fun thing for all those to get, attract that crowd.
What was that thing? 200 watts or
160, I believe.
Yeah.
I think
it's a loud, clean amp.
It was
a monster.
6 L6s at 550 volts or something. It was nuts.
They really decided to push the limits there.
Yeah, that was huge.
So Jeff, you kind of went through. You have a little board in your home there, and you got boards kind of all over the place wherever you need to be. You have access to pretty much, a lot of music equipment. You were very excited and adamant about when you were talking about this, right out of the gate, and that I think that all caused us to really pay attention because we're like, this is somebody who's can have whatever pedal you want, boom, you can at least try it out, I'm sure. But the idea that you were very much into this one thing that does so much really intrigued us. Can you elaborate a little bit from a player's standpoint, what really hooked you with this?
Well, yeah, before I joined the Pumpkins, I had 7 or 8 pedals. You know what I mean? I probably had a few more, but I had I had a couple rap pedals, quadriverb, just kind of, some things. And then obviously once I joined the band, I had to get like these elaborate guitar systems. And then I had access to guitar techs and rig builders. And I've had like Dave Friedman been able to build rigs for me and, all this kind of stuff. And so I've had it all, like where, I would put together this elaborate rig with the huge pedal board with the MIDI controller and switcher so I could have all that stuff. But even that, when you are in a band and especially at that time with the Pumpkins, we would change our set list. We would play different sets every night. And so you'd find yourself like, oh, I need this sound. And, it's like, I didn't want to have to go down and like change like a level on a distortion pedal or something. You know what I mean? You'd like to like set it and touch and never have to touch it again. And so what ended up happening is then I started throwing the M series in my rigs. Mm-hmm. Once that came out, I started using the M13. And then what would end up happening, I'd have these really elaborate pedal boards with the M13 at the end. And then I would just have the M13 doing 80% of the work because it was just so convenient and it sounded really great, for the time. And so then as things evolved farther down the road, in 2018, when we did this bigger Pumpkins tour, we were playing 3-hour shows, and really the goal was to try and recreate a lot of the album sounds. There's no way I could have a traditional pedal board because I would be like, I need like a Phase 90 for that part, but I need MXR flanger for that part. You know what I mean? And so I was able to basically build a rig around Helix that allowed me to really recreate all this stuff quickly and have backups and all that kind of stuff. And then when it came to using Stomp, it's just something that because I travel all the time, I'm always doing stuff. I'm recording in hotel rooms for people. I literally just keep it in my backpack and it's awesome. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I started using it because I know it's funny because even now I know the sound so well in that I can tell, like when I'm working at a studio and say we're using the Helix Native, which is the plug-in version, I can just create sounds just by telling people what to put the parameters at and get like 95% there because I'm living in it so much. So it really became, it's really out of use and practicality. And of course the sonic quality, integrity of the programming and the sounds is excellent. So I love it in that it really gives me freedom to imagine whatever I want, and I'm not limited to what I have in front of me for the most part. And what I love about it is it's great. It's like I call it, it's kind of like a digital archive of kind of the greatest guitar, amps, pedals, and effects of the last, I don't know how many years now, Ben, are we talking like 70 years or something, maybe? You know what I mean? But then it's also with the very technologically advanced routing abilities, you can absolutely create things that you would not be able to do with just regular pedals. And so it's more like you can insert yourself like creating signal chains that you would only be able to make like in a studio, but you can do it right there even with something like Stomp. So I just to me, it's like having that amount of flexibility is just awesome. But like even right now, I have a Stomp on my little pedal board that I told you about, and I just have it set up with like a chorus, a delay, and a reverb that are just like in Stomp mode that I just turn off and on. Like, so it's like having, like 3 pedals, and it sounds great for that, and a tuner. And a nice tuner.
You kind of touched on something that is a great tuner, by the way. Not to be left out, little tuner. You mentioned something that I think is an important factor in when you're looking at something like this, and that seems to be able to do everything. You're going like, there's a compromise in there somewhere. I just know it. And I mean, I think. Obviously, this is an incredibly successful pedal. We are not introducing something brand new to anybody. This has been out for a while, but we're putting focus on it because of our particular community. there's not a compromise. I mean,
there isn't a compromise, especially just looking at it. They didn't compromise on the color. Look, it sparkles. It's sparkly. I love the sparkle.
It sparkles. Okay. So there's one more.
By the way, whose idea was that to make it metallic like this? I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't remember. We were originally going to do 2 versions. We were going to do a limited edition run of 500, I think, of the black sparkle, and then put it in like a velvet pouch and do something cool to really hammer home that this is a pedal thing.
Velvet comes back again.
It's the Velvet show.
And we got the chassis in, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's cool." And they told us what the cost difference was, and we're like, "It's not that big a deal. Let's just make them all sparkle."
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest questions that we have for you, which probably is going to explain a lot, thinking about it, like how it relates to our audience, is what do you think that people don't understand and or struggle with as far as adoption of this?
Oh, I'm going to hop in right now.
He's heard this one.
So this is something. Oh, pardon me. This is something that really bothers me, which is like every effect in there that we make has a lot of detail, and usually the ability to kind of get pretty chaotic and weird. And I think what is one of the most misunderstood things is that since this is a multi-effect, is that most of the effects are going to be kind of safe and controlled. But as a person who embraces chaos in music and effects and such, I want to put all of that in there. So I did, like the model of this Roland Space Echo, which is called the Cosmos Echo. And one of the things our Echo did is, the tape splice comes around every 30 to 45 seconds. And half the time on our old unit that I was modeling, it would get caught and you get this wild pitch shift. I'm like, that is fun. So there's a knob on the Cosmos Echo called Splice. And if you put that in at
Is that what that is?
Yes. So what happens is, depending on your delay time, if you're running a faster delay time, the tape moves faster. So you're going to hit the splice about every 20 to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And if it's longer, it'll be about every 45 seconds. You get this weird, like, because the tape splice gets caught. And that's like, I need to build that in the effect. So in almost all of the effects, there's been something that me or one of the other sound designers has come up with to put in that is like stuff people would normally think of as like, oh, this is only going to be in a boutique level, pedal, or in actual some old crazy vintage gear. But it's, it's every single model has something in it that is like, oh, this does something crazy. We have to make sure we get that crazy thing in the model.
It's sort of like 2001, not 2001, with the cavemen, they're sitting there and then all of a sudden there's this thing and they're like, whoa, what is this thing? We don't know what to do with it. Right. That's the best metaphor I could come up with it. Anyways, but you guys, we have people who salivate over these pedals and their beloved board and the time that they've taken to craft it and everything. And then here's this thing that they, in the back of their heads, they're like, this would be awesome. But what do I do with it? Am I cheating on my board?
Hit it with a bone.
Yeah, hit it with a bone, right? That's a barrier. How have you dealt with that? What?
I mean, we have a really great community that's really, really helpful. With a lot of third-party forums and Facebook groups, and there's a really good Reddit subreddit as well. We do a lot of cheat sheets. We do a lot of how-to videos that we purposely keep within 2 minutes so people will actually watch them. So no 8 minutes of like and subscribe. Let me tell you my life story garbage. But but what we try to do is and it's really tough to convey. You're absolutely right. It's tough to be in the room clearly with somebody who sees this for the first time and said, hey, hold on. It's not that HX Stomp does so many things. What makes it even more difficult is that there are a million ways to approach it too. So if somebody might think it's the worst pedal for somebody who's never owned a pedal before. And normally I would agree with them, except if you're the slightest bit, techie, you now get to learn what your favorite pedals are because you now have 200 pedals at your disposal. So, and maybe the M5 is better because it just does one thing at a time. So you don't have to use all of its capabilities, and we purposely designed the UI so you have to dig in for some of the deeper stuff to keep it away from some of the newbies, so they don't freak out. Well, what's this? How did I get into this mode? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we try to keep everything top level, and if you want to dig in, if you want to read the manual and find something cool and new and unique, and then bonus. But just from a learning experience, if you don't know the difference between a fuzz or an overdrive and a distortion, a lot of beginners don't. It's like, I'm starting to get into this. What is this? What am I reading? Oh, I see. It's a silicon fuzz versus, an op amp or something like that. And so you can learn to hear the little intricacies. And what we found is people will end up buying pedals that we've modeled. And amps, the Rev guys love the fact, and they begged us, like, hey, could you please just name the model after the real amp? We're like, absolutely, as long as you sign off on this little thing. They're like, absolutely. Yeah. And now they're our friends. So they saw a pretty decent uptick in sales after the Rev showed up in one of our updates. So if anything, it's like a smorgasbord of different pedals. And the thing is use it for one effect. The one effect that isn't currently on your board that you need for that one song. Is it worth that space? I don't know. But now you're using it for one effect, and it's probably not worth $600 for one effect, but now it's 6 effects, or now it's,
that's where the whole the multi, use it as an individual, three individual effects, or the different modes that you can use it in is really one of the underlying things that I didn't understand about how that works. And that was one of the big light bulbs things when I plugged in. I was like, oh, this is actually 3 different multi-unit effects within one multi-unit effect.
Yeah. And if you wanted to, you could treat all 6 of those blocks as one big effect that you sort of build together. Yeah. Like, I want a crazy modulated delay with reverb in the effects loop. You can build that and then just bypass it. So almost like building your own effects pedal, except it's one pedal.
Ben,
or you can use it for multi-effects, or you can use it as a backup, or you can use it as a travel rig, or you can plug it into your computer and record. I mean, it's really flexible. But.
It truly is. Ben, do you have anything to add to that?
It's just, I think it's, finding, it seems to serve a different purpose for everyone. I remember when Jeff was saying about recording the Night Dreamer record, that like he would just travel around and just took the Stomp, and that was like kind of his audio interface and like, sound designing tool to get all the guitar sounds. It is Night Dreamer, right? I got the band name correct. I hope I did. Anyway, but so
that's correct. That's
okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and I take it with me, like if I'm going on, going out of town for the weekend or something, and I might have time to play guitar, I'll just, shove it in the gig bag, and it's a little headphone amp that does everything. And it's been one pedal when I knew I was playing like a show with a band that's pretty stripped down, where I just needed a distortion and a tuner. It's kind of so flexible, but it can also be so in depth. So it's one of those things where it's kind of hard. It's not a thing. It's many things, and we have to explain to people that you can use it to do one of many things, whichever you need it most for.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting aspects of this is when a lot of multi-effects type things, there's so much time spent on having to put everything up front and say, well, anybody looking at this has to know how to use the entire thing like at a glance. And much like the Apple products, I mean, people were dumbfounded, like, how do I do this? There's one button. What am I supposed to do? But once you learn it, it's the simplicity of it is rather genius.
That's all Eric. He back when we used to have an office, I mean, we still have an office, we just don't go there. But he used to walk around with life-size printouts of like the Helix or the HX Stomp or the HX Effects or whatever. And he would have like 3 of them with buttons in different places and stuff. I'm like, okay, how would you feel about hitting this to do that? Or on this one, you would hit this, and he would vote. We'd vote, and we'd be a check mark, and they would take the printouts to the next office of someone. Okay, here are these 2 ones. And we'd actually do the surveys in the building with like life-size color printouts of laying on the floor as if you're going to be using it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, HX Stomp started out as origami models.
Oh, kind of like Frank Gehry.
Yeah, yeah.
Eric is the Frank Gehry one.
Yeah, exactly like that.
I'll take it.
That's why he's product design architect.
Yeah. Well, talking about how this is working, and we've referenced the barrier factor. Maybe Jeff certainly weigh in on this. Working, it's one thing to say, here's the thing that can do everything, and then instantly you're like, well, I don't need to replace my whole pedalboard. Tell us about how this works with a pedalboard and how somebody can begin to adapt this into their normal workflow there.
I think, and this is something that I do, and I've been using this stuff. I mean, I started using the DL4 when it came out, and so I've been kind of used to using these things, and the kind of the language of that they kind of work on. But I think, people, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the options and just the options within, like say reverbs or delays or anything. And so I tend to I usually go through periods or phases where I just choose a few things and I really use them and exploit them until I get okay, and I need to change it up and start looking for something else. So especially even with like the amps that are in Stomp, like just choose what you would normally choose if you were at a store or something. You're like, okay, I want a Twin, or I want a Marshall, or I want this. Like, it's not like you have to go through and try every one. It's like just get kind of used to a palette, how they sound, how they interact with other things, just like you would anything else. And I think that's a good place to start, just to kind of limit limit the choices a bit and just start and get to know a few of the models really well. And then once you get secure in that, then start adding to other things, just like you're learning how to cook or something. You're not going to cook a 8-course meal. Just start with making like a good hamburger.
That's a really great way to set that up.
Talking my language.
Yeah, Jared's like, what? Hamburger?
I'm going. I'm going.
How about you guys? Anything to add to that?
I think I know this is me. This is just my personal speaking. But when I am not in like my most creative periods, I love playing around with gear. I have a bunch of amps, I have a bunch of pedals. I, obviously have the Helix and HX stuff, and I just like playing around with gear. And when time comes and I actually get creative, I want to work kind of quickly, and I end up going back to like some of the same setups. Like when I'm coming up with musical ideas and such, it's like, oh, I need this, and this. And I found that while I play with a lot of my old vintage amps and stuff to have fun, when I'm actually like, oh, I got a great song idea. Like of course I'm familiar with Helix and HX stuff because I was there since the beginning. But, I think once you kind of get a hang of it, if you're someone like, oh, I got this great idea for a song, you can pick your favorite amp model. You can pick, an overdrive to put in front that you can turn up, and like, oh, I need like a crazy echo part, and put in my favorite delay. And it kind of becomes something with, a little bit of time you can then work with really fast. And you might not even use that gear when you play with your band out live, but when you're, just in a creative mode, it's something that it can be so fast and so easy and get sounds down really quick. I really have appreciated that about actually having the small unit here.
Eric, anything to add?
I use HX Stomp for the most part just to listen to Spotify during the day because I'm sitting here. So I have a home studio that I took over, it's now my office, in COVID land. And so there's a Helix to the right of me. There's a HX Stomp to the left of me, and that's what my headphones are plugged into. And then I have a Pod Go and an XL and an HX Effects, and then another box that I can't talk about yet. And,
you almost did, though. You
almost did.
Oh, no, do not tease us. Come on, you can talk about it. We're friends here.
We're all friends. And It doesn't work yet. It's just a prototype. But
Okay.
yeah,
Just
I think
origami. Gotcha.
It's like, no. The one thing that it taught me is that the silver silk screen disappears against the color. So we have to go with white. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
But so I use it as an audio interface. It's just like a portable because it sounds better than the headphone output on my laptop. And it's right there. And, if I get a question or an email, we keep all the gear on. So I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. How many split types are there now? Oh, there are 4. So I just have the stuff ready to go. But some people know this, but a lot of people don't. I don't use our hardware at all. I am all native. I use plugins constantly. I mean, I started out in pod with Amp Farm in '99.
Wow.
And that that has been my guitar tone forever. So not just Pod Farm and Amp Farm and Echo Farm and now Helix Native, but I use all the Valhalla stuff and the Sound Toys stuff, and that's kind of my testing ritual. Is I have to Logic to actually do my real get nitty gritty and listen to all this stuff, because that's what I'm used to, is the whole studio monitor in a control room environment.
Got it. I have something to add to just how to integrate it to the board, because that's something that I was personally struggling with as well. Like, we got the box and I was like, okay, how do I work this into my existing unit? Or even more so, if I'm using it by itself with some headphones, surely it's not going to sound exactly like my setup, and that's going to throw me off. Well, I was very wrong, because in, maybe 10 minutes, I set up, and it is almost identical to the actual rig setup that I'm playing. And because I was worried, because I was like, well, there's not going to be a Super O amp in there. Poof. It's like the first one. I was like, what? This is perfect. And I said, well, next in line is this, and next in line is that. And I was just dumbfounded at how close it actually mimicked the rig that I play with. That in itself is a great way, I think, to get into this, so that you're not just going like, oh, I'm bombarded by crazy effects that I may or may not ever use. No, just actually try to model what you have, and you'll have a much better understanding of the intricacies of how to use the interface, and how to stack or not stack, and then getting into the amps and cabs and stuff. It was really remarkable once you dive in. The dive in part was the hard thing, because I was like, I'm a little bit lost, and I didn't want to spend hours and hours looking at YouTube videos trying to figure it out. I kind of wanted to intuitively just go, let me experience this. So I really appreciate that you have the Super O in there.
That's been in there since 1.0, I think, right, Ben?
Yeah, I believe so. I love those little Super amps. We have another one at the shop that I haven't modeled yet, so maybe, fingers crossed, I can get that in.
Just one thing I'd like to add, because as I mentioned before, I really use Helix across all platforms, from Stomp all the way to native. And the translation from, say, using the plugin to using Stomp, if you have to transfer, say, a sound that you really like that you created, or vice versa, moving something from Stomp into the plugin for a recording situation, is excellent. I mean, to me, they everything sounds virtually the same. Mm-hmm. So it's really it's a great tool to use, like I said, from live all the way to recording.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're a perfect example too, Jeff, because I mean, you're jumping from studio to tour and back and forth, and so I mean that whole workflow is that's why we designed that whole workflow. Let's take your tones that you did in the studio, throw them in your hardware. All right, now I'm writing songs on the tour bus. Oh, now I'm back in the studio. Let's throw them back in. That used to take weeks. Mm-hmm. And a lot of bands would hire people to recreate their album tones. Now you just drag it over, and 3 seconds later, it's in your touring rig.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, with the plugin, guys, you can set how it, the memory works. So if you have let's say a HX, or say you have a Helix, the floor unit, the plugin can mimic that, or it can just run off of strictly computer DSP. But I'm not sure if it can mimic the Stomp in terms of its which is great. So then that kind of that flow between units is even more accurate because it's awesome.
Yeah. So it basically said, even though your computer is capable of making 1 billion blocks, we're going to limit you to 8 because that's what the Stomp can do.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of nice.
You can turn those things on and off in the software. Yeah.
It's cool. It's really great. I mean, I love that.
Going to be rounding third here with the interview. And I was curious, after creating this, was there anything about it after it was built that like actually surprised you about it?
It did sell better than we thought it might.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot. You know, we went back and forth with mechanical and electrical. I don't know how many times. Like I think we spent close to 2 or 3 or 4 months doing nothing but redesigning things to make it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And the one downside though is we have so many options, and we kind of have to, because how do you pick which amps to throw in if you try to scale it down?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so, you know, companies like Strymon with their Iridium, which is doing really well as well. And, you know, an Atomic to a certain extent. Who just came out with a modeling pedal? Was it? It
seems like there's a lot of them that just came out.
They just came out with an amp modeler, the AM1. Who is it? Crap. Totally escapes me. But they're in an amazing position, because when they're just starting out by modeling amp, and they have like 3 or 4 models, they can make these super simple pedals where you could just turn a dial and pick one of those things. And we're like, I wish we could do that. I want to make super simple pedals with no displays, but because we have this sort of, we call it technical debt internally, where because we have all of these things that we can do, and because people know we can do these things, we kind of have to give it to them. Otherwise, we're like, oh, why didn't you give us this?
Yeah.
So we're working on that too.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can't take away what we've already had.
The box is already open. Yeah.
Yep.
There it is.
Yep.
And I have to say that was, you know, amazing about when you guys added all the legacy effects to the HX, or to the Helix series, was really great for me, because there was a few that I was really attached to. So I had them all back.
Oh, you guys want to scoop? We're looking at adding more stuff for the legacy stuff too. So
wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Excellent. Ben, anything to add about surprise that came out of that?
I mean, I've been on the internet since, you know, the 90s. I was an early adopter of like getting my bands on the page on the internet. I was expecting more hate on the internet, but actually, maybe I'm just in a little bit of a bubble. But the positivity of like the Helix users, and like how people are seeing the HX, you know, Stomp and are taking it, I was really surprised at how nice it was of a reception that we got. And it's been like a really active and interactive community of people like trading sounds and helping each other out. And it's actually quite awesome.
That's cool. Now, Jeff, do you have any particular profiles that you've put out there for the Stomp?
Not particularly for Stomp, but I feel like most of them would work, because I usually don't do crazy like presets that have like more than 8 effects. So I think anything that I've created that is out there, I've written a couple blogs, would work on Stomp. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I know that you have a couple of them out there for different levels within the entire Line 6 platform. And you can, when we actually do get to home plate, you can tell everybody where they can get that stuff. Well, gentlemen, may I offer the floor to you for one last moment in this interview? Anything else that you would like our audience to know about this to further convince them if they need it?
If they hate it, they can tell us, and we'll probably have a conversation and see them online. So, the other really great thing that we're really excited about is that like almost everything we release is either is either specifically asked for by our users or like the Rev. We see people, talking about Rev in metal guitar forums, like, hey, we should check out this thing, and then 9 months later it pops up in an update. And so if you hate it, come and talk to us and we'll make you hate it less, I guess.
Ben?
I posted something about this on a Helix forum recently, but it's just like, play the gear that you love to play and that excites you. And if it happens to be ours, that is awesome. We love it. And if it doesn't, just that's fine too. Just keep playing what you love and have fun with guitar. I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy, but I stand by it.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Jeff, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, kind of along those lines. I think that tends to be a way, it's a matter of perspective, that there's like, oh, there's all this gear that's available and all these pedals and amps and stuff that I have. And then now I have to translate that into like this type of other gear, like something like Helix, for example. But for me, the way that it's evolved is it's like an integral part of my creative process and sound. I don't look at it as like, oh, like I have to, like there are things now that I can only do with that, if that makes any sense. And so to me, that's really the beauty of it, that it's not just about emulation, that it's actually, you can use this stuff to create things that don't exist. And that's what really excites me about using it the most, is that you can kind of create your own, basically, kind of sounds with whatever, it's kind of whatever pops into your head, you can try and create it. And I love that aspect of it.
Mm. Well said. Well, gentlemen, we have one more big segment to do. It's not a big segment, it's a little segment. We truly appreciate your thoughts, and sharing them with us. And now we just have another question to ask you. And Jared, why don't you do this for us?
The question is, gentlemen, would you rather? This week's Would You Rather. You're walking down the street and you see this yard sale.
Okay.
Now, in this yard sale, you see some really shiny, reflective things, and it catches your eye, and you're like, what is that over there? So you walk over there, and what you see is a mirror ball style Firebird. So
wait, a mirror ball style Firebird?
Exactly. So you're going to, they're like little 1 inch by 1 inch little mirrors.
Glued mirror ball
squares to a Firebird guitar. Yeah. All right. I hope you don't get cut.
Reverse or non-reverse?
Make your
reverse.
pick, man. I don't know. And then sitting beside it is a cracked mirror Ibanez Iceman. So there's a crack in the mirror.
There's a theme with this particular person who has this.
They like to look at themselves?
I think I know like 3 or 4 people whose house this could be. So a couple of them worked at Line 6.
Yeah.
There we go. So the question is, which one are you going to buy?
Ooh, good question. Tony's going to lead us off. Then we'll check in with Ben, Eric, and then Jeff.
So let me get this straight. You have a choice between a Firebird,
right, with the one by one
mirror ball mirrors,
yeah,
square or mirrors. You can have the Iceman. Yeah. Is it the broken mirror?
It's a mirror and it's cracked.
Paul Stanley style.
Paul Stanley style. Okay. I think while the mirror ball is kind of cool. I'll relate this to a Chris Isaak show I saw years ago. And for his encore, he came out in a mirror ball suit.
Yeah.
It was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life, because then they flashed a light on him. And it was just like light was flying everywhere.
Sounds like a Liberace type thing.
I guess you could probably say that. I think I'm going with the Iceman though, because that cracked mirror on an Iceman Paul Stanley thing was just, I mean, that was a very cool guitar for the day. Mm-hmm. And while, you know, a Firebird could look cool with a bunch of little square mirrors on it, the broken mirrored one on an Iceman is just,
I think that's a pretty rad idea.
I think that's what I'm going with.
All right. Ben, how about yourself?
100% the Firebird with the disco ball.
There we go.
Bonus points if it's non-reverse, and even more bonus points if it has P90s.
I like that.
Wow.
How many P90s? 1, 2, or 3?
I think I would go any, but probably 1 is my first preference. 3 is second, and 2 is third.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right.
Strong feelings.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, wait.
Give you a minute. You can change your mind.
Yeah.
No. People should love the music they love, but Kiss is not on my list.
Eric, how about yourself?
I'm going Iceman, actually.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, because it's I don't know, because it actually, the whole cracked mirror thing seems appropriate. Although, and then whenever I see Firebird, I always think, all right, it's got to be wood.
Right.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah. I get it. Jeff.
I'm
I
pretty
have
big.
Both, actually.
No. I'm a pretty big Ace guy.
2 of each.
You know, as far as Kiss, you know what I mean? But it would be cool to have the cracked mirror Ibanez. You know, although, you know, if on the cover of Kiss Alive, I think Paul Stanley is playing a 1 pickup Firebird, no mirrors, no broken mirror, but you know, he also did play the Firebird as well. But I'd definitely go cracked mirror.
All right.
Cracked mirror.
Jared.
This is actually a tough one. I don't know which one to choose. I think we've had so many Would You Rathers with Gibsons in it. I think I'm going to go with the Ibanez this time too. Just because, I don't know, because it's an Ibanez.
Okay.
It's something different. But as far as the mirrors go,
I think you're more of a cracked mirror versus a mirror ball.
yeah, the little squares will fall out eventually. Anyway.
That's what you're worried about? It's a yard sale.
You know that glue exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Now I don't know what to do.
Poor Drew, man. Drew was on tour with Whitesnake, and he had the lead guitar player had
Joel Hoekstra.
Yeah.
Joel Hoekstra.
I got to hold that thing.
Yeah, he had to. Well, poor Drew, he had to replace those things every time
Swarovski crystals.
Yeah, he had to replace them every time they
real.
fell out.
Yikes!
Yeah.
That guitar was ridiculous. It's like purple, right?
It is,
Yeah,
and you know,
gorgeous.
Jeff, did you encounter that guitar at all?
I never got to see it in person, but Drew did show me many pictures.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I was like, wow, I get to hold, and I held it, and I was like, this neck is awful, and it was like it was all gummed up and just it, and he's like, that's the way he likes it. So,
I know, and he just can play so fast and fly over the
such
front.
a good player.
I know, and sing.
all right, well, I'm gonna join our friend Ben here and go the Firebird route.
Yeah, that's a good choice too.
I love the idea. Kiss, big part of my childhood and everything. Seen them many times, but I like the idea of having that mirror ball in a big body, like a Firebird, like a substantial, piece of wood. I like that.
If you played that, at a club or something, and everybody shone their light on that, it'd be
Or
crazy.
even if they didn't, everybody would be like, okay, put the thing away.
Pretty much.
Well, that was a fun one. Thank you to whoever submitted that one. And we need to thank a few people, and then we're going to see our good friends Ben, Eric, and Jeff off. Okay?
Yes,
Tony Bolonsky.
Todd. Yes, you are correct. There is a very special group of people that we'd like to thank at this point of the show. These would be our executive producers.
That's right.
Now, someone out there is probably wondering, well, what is this executive producer and how do I become one? Very simple. Head over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. Check out a couple of different levels in which you can participate. Become a patron, a sponsor of this podcast.
Yep.
Maybe even a grand poobah.
You're jumping the gun there, my friend. You're jumping the gun.
Okay.
So each level comes with its own special bevy of thank you gifts that we have. Things like barefoot buttons, T-shirts, stickers, picks, all the good stuff. But as an executive producer, you get all the good stuff. And one more thing, Jared, what is that?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing. That's what I'm doing right now. So special thanks to these executive producers, Mr. Tom Brazen, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Chris Carney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Ken Sayers, Brian Robison, Michael Senchuk, Stefan Lamb, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lathrop, John Anglin, Tyler Bray, Brad Partridge, Chris Heidel, John Esterly, Doug Gann, Justin Jones, Brett Alexander, James White, Matt Hart, Bill Gola Guitars, Richard Kendall, Ty Harmon, John Williams, John Jackson, Jason Roush, David Rando, Douglas King, Gary Cooper, Rob Saxby, Mark Garton, Elad Mizrahi, and Mike D.
All right.
But wait.
Yes?
Don't interrupt me.
I'm not.
We have a special group of executive producers that live in the penthouse suite just above.
Mm-hmm.
These are our grand poobahs. And one of the great things that they get is a special fez to wear.
Mm-hmm.
So special thanks to these grand poobahs. Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, David Kaminga, Science of Sound, Cody Foster, Sean S.
Yes.
Tom Imanasco, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Tim Nowak, Tyler Rhines, James Pennington, and new this week,
Yes.
LSJ Music Company.
All right.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
excited
you,
about all that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for supporting this show.
Yes, sir.
It means a great deal to us. Gentlemen from Line 6, Ben and Eric, where can people find your things? I mean, that's kind of everywhere, but go ahead. Run with it.
Line6.com.
There it is.
Or if they want to play it, your local store, Emporium, or your uncle's house, or
all the things. And do you have any? I know you guys were talking about your bands. Do you have any band things you want people to go hear?
Sure. My band played a show on March 6th, right before everything went into lockdown. That was our record release show. The band is called Tiny Peloton, which is a cycling term. But now that the exercise bike has taken over, I feel like it's kind of got ruined. But tinypeloton.bandcamp.com, and you can hear it. And of course, everything on it is Helix. So if you love it, awesome. And if you don't, you can blame the digital.
There you go. Excellent. Jeff, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think everybody knows, Smashing Pumpkins and Night Dreamers, whatever. It's all out there in the world. So
it is.
Yeah,
indeed. And I think you've got a great Instagram too, where you're always talking about your new projects, and that's where you can get a hold of some of these articles. You're very active in the community.
Yeah, actually, and then I do pretty soon. I'm been recording some solo material, so I have a song coming out that is probably in June. So that's slated for release in June. So the first off of that. So that's kind of coming up, and most of that, other than one little part, it was all used. I used nothing but Helix. So you can, if you don't like it, you can blame the digital too.
And then
Beep, beep,
digital.
any dates you can share for the new Pumpkin stuff?
No idea. I mean, we'll be working on it. I mean, it's a very ambitious project. It'll be 33 songs. Whoa, so
nice.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I mean, every project with you guys is an ambitious project.
I know the last one was 20, so Billy was like, "I want to do
Double
33." I know this
couldn't you have gone a little further and do 33 and a third?
Try a little harder, will you?
I know. So it's like, so it's going to take the rest of the year. We have, and we have, in theory, there were some festival dates that we were scheduled to play last year, and every day, it looks like maybe we'll play them this year. They're in September, so we'll see. We're just waiting, but we'd love
Crossing
to.
fingers.
Yeah. We've actually had conversations about like, okay, we need to block off this time to rehearse and whatnot. Whether or not we actually do, that's something. But we'll be ready to rock if we can. So that would be exciting. That would be fun.
Heck yeah. Tanya.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Let's say you need a special pick guard, a replacement. You're changing pickups. You need a new color.
You need to put something over your mirror ball thing that seems to be losing all the squares.
Cover that damn mirror ball. You're cutting your fingers on it.
That's true.
Head over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the things I have available for purchase, but a lot of what I do is custom work. So shoot me an email. Let me know what you need. I will take good care of you.
Excellent. Jared?
If you need pickups, new pickups that look old to match your old guitar, whatever, get a hold of me. I specialize in the wide range, noiseless jazz masters, humbuckers, PAF stuff, all that kind of good stuff. So BrandonWongPickups.com.
And I would like to voice for the P90.
Right, P90.
Yep.
I do those too.
I love those. Those are in my stuff too. You can shoot me an email, Todd@theguitarknobs.com, and or DM me on Instagram @GuitarKnobs. I'd love to hear what you have to say, especially about this episode, and we'll share it out with the rest of the guys. A humongoid thank you to Line 6 and Ben, Adrian, and Eric Klein for sharing this time with us. Thank you guys so very much for doing that.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And to our very good friend, Jeff Schroeder, for making appearance 5, I think.
Yeah.
I know.
Been on the most.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you again. Everyone else out there, have a great guitar weekend. Subscribe!
Yeah. Whiskey and eggs, please.
Yeah, totally.
Good friend, Jeff.
Jeff who?
Yeah. How many? Is this my fourth or fifth time?
I don't know. You got a gold jacket last time. Now we're going to have to upgrade you to the green one.
Burgundy velvet.
I know.
It's a bunch of shenanigans over here trying to make something seem professional.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.